the garage. Sort of just give you sort of the 360 view here. That's the entry into the house there. This was a model home, so it laid out a little differently than some of the houses that we have in our neighborhood. That being said, we have a couple windows in the garage that stayed because this was essentially the office that we were standing in. The door, because that used to be a room where this Jeep is right now, and kind of cut off into that direction where you see the garage door. And then this half right here was another office. And then basically this whole space right here was open into the house itself. And what that did for us is it left the garage floor flat, where most garage floors stay sloped. So that's kind of nice when you're working on stuff in here. So a couple of the first things that I did when we got in the house, modifications I made, was the floors. I always wanted these epoxy coated floors with the flakes, so you got the grip and you can spill things on it, and it's super durable and great to clean up. And I just like the way it looks. It holds a really nice look to the garage. The next modification I made, and this is a big one that I share with a lot of people when they come by, because in your garage we have, this is, I believe, 10-foot ceilings in this space. A typical garage door will come up and you can see where it used to mount. And as a garage door came up, I think the opening of a garage door is typically 7 feet, some change. Well, as the door would come up, that door would stay just about even with that 7-foot mark. And that would kind of cramp on your space. So like, here's my welding table. Here's where the Jeep is. When that door opens and it's only 7 feet above you, that kind of cramps your style whenever you're trying to sit here and work and weld and do things. I like for the door to go all the way up to the ceiling, hug the ceiling as tight as it can. Installed these extensions, these track extensions in the garage door, and then side mounted the garage door up there. Let's know if you can see that a little bit better. But that's the garage door up there in the corner. It's really quiet. It's got the lock down there. And there's a plug, an outlet that I installed right up there by it. And it just runs up tight. So let's do that now. Let's go back over here and open that up. And you can see as it opens up, sorry for the glare on the whites there, it's gonna get really bright. So you see how nice and high the garage door is now. So it really opens up the space to allow you, if you're out here working on stuff during the day or whenever, the garage door's out of your way. And it has this little light that comes on whenever you walk by. It's got a sensor on it. You could hook it up to your phone and things like that. Okay. Here's kind of the main storage wall, or tool wall, I guess you would say. And I'll show you a picture here in a minute of what the wall looked like before we moved in. All right, so we'll start here. This space right here kind of worked out great because it ended up being just wide enough for this toolbox. So that's actually a wall, and I put a sheet of metal over that. It's like 1/8 thick. It's scrap metal that I had, so I decided to go ahead and wrap that corner, because that corner is actually part of our house inside. And then tongue and groove the wall there, and this toolbox fit just perfectly in this space right here. And if you move this direction over here, I just took some old 2x8 material that I had, built those shelves for it so it could kind of store. I used to be a tree feller back in the day, and still have all my ropes and spurs and belts for that. And there's my tool belt for working, a couple backpacks, extra boots, and a couple saws up there. And then part of our training equipment we just store on the wall here. A little extra storage. Now this metal that you see here, all this metal is just scrap metal that I had left over from previous jobs that I've done. You can see up there where one of the old fluorescent lights were. There was one up there too that I just used these lights, these flush mount lights that you can buy on Amazon, and these work a lot better for my application here in this garage. And this space worked out pretty good for air compressor. This is where we keep our fridge, outdoor garage fridge. There's my fan in the corner. There's our hot water heater, which you can get to pretty easily. All you gotta do is pull these containers out of your way. And this is a toolbox that I built right here, or a toolbox that I bought from Home Depot. And I just put this angle all the way down to a platform, metal platform, put it on wheels. This is something I saw on Pinterest and was able to mount my drill press and my bench grinder on. And then of course I took advantage of the space in front of the windows to hang ladders and brooms and shovels and things like that. And then of course the shelving continued over here to hold my fuel, extra fuel cans. You know, anytime you can get space like this laterally, this is all some pry bars, some breaker bars, some sledgehammers. Down here is where I hold some chains. Nothing real fancy about this. It's just extra space where I keep my blower. And then this is a big old wobble light. This is a construction light that has a really bright light in it. It's designed to take some beating while it's on the job site. And then over here again, this is just some jack stands. Just had some more angle that I used to drill in front of the 2x8s or these could be 2x10s, but just to give me a little bit more room on the board to store things. Lots of extra metal that I use and just drilled those clamps in to hold things, keep things off the ground. So back on this, definitely wasn't designed necessarily for these levels, but I found that at Home Depot and just mounted that on the side of the toolbox, and that holds all my levels. There's the barbell tucked away right there. Some rings, and again, this big old I-beam up here, it's not structural, it's all welded together nicely though, and everything's secured down to the concrete. So I'm gonna mount a pull-up bar from underneath the angle bracing there. And so up here, you'll see that this is just a long piece of 2x6. It goes all the way across. I think that's like 20 something feet. And I use that to store my miter saws, my planer, my table saw, and a few extra containers and miscellaneous things. And every 16 inches all the way across is another 2x6 mounted to another 2x6 on the wall in the back, secured to the studs. Here, these are these Husky cabinets that I bought. I forget what I ended up paying for these things. They worked out great. This is a tool, DeWalt. I mean, I use DeWalt tools, but you can use any tool for it. I actually bought this. I didn't take the time to make this one. I found a shop on Etsy. This guy did a really good job with these, so I really liked it. In here, underneath this is just kind of my cubby holes to hold all kinds of miscellaneous items. Some just extra screws that I keep, electric connections, connectors, some books, some extra stuff there, some extra screws. So these are this is again just metal that I tack welded together and placed underneath this cabinet just to give me space for all this extra filler stuff. And then here, this is kind of cool. I think this is 2-inch square tubing that I just cut at angles and welded to the back of a piece of metal there. And it holds all my pencils and chalk and Sawzall blades, and kind of a really neat feature there that I keep. And now this my electric outlet cover modified here. I couldn't quite find a gray one that had this exact setup. And just another magnet bar that kind of holds things here. Framing square. This is where I run all my batteries, my battery chargers, so I can get to them easily. They plug into power source there, outlet up there. Clamps, just another metal plate to hold a couple. Now the cool thing about metal is you can buy these little hooks and stuff, these magnet hooks, and you can just about hang anything you want on there. It's the nice thing about having metal around the shop. The table itself is 1.75 LVLs, 24-inch wide, and it's supported by this 1.75 rec tubing with some square tubing that I welded. And then it's got the tongue and groove wall down there. I brought down a 30 amp service and a 20 amp service for my welders. Some more Husky storage. I think this is all my electric stuff, and all this is supported by this 1.5-inch square tubing, all welded up nicely together. LVL are screwed into the metal, and I just built this all level with the top of this Husky toolbox here. And then this is another place that I keep a lot of my tools. Another Husky cabinet, and these Husky cabinets are all spread out evenly across this space. This is just another Pinterest inspiration idea right here for holding my shop towels and some paper towels. Always gotta have your fire extinguisher, my little whisk broom. In front of the breaker for the house is the sub panel, one of the sub panels for the house. I just keep that covered up so we can still get to it easily with just my welding jackets. There's all my welding helmets, hoods, extra extension cords. This is another shelf that I built just to hold all my extra bolts and anchors and screws and things like that. A couple lights there. This is the charger for my blower. And this is another setup just like on the other side there with the with the rec tubing and the LVLs, generator, just a few things stored down here. I want to get a little bit more organized in here with like a shelf and maybe even possibly put some doors in front of this. I'm not quite sure yet. I bought this on Amazon. It's plastic and it's starting, with all the weight that's on it, it's starting to pull itself away because it's kind of a cheap piece of plastic, but for some reason for the last 2 years it's held pretty good. And there's another cabinet here. Some projects, some shocks for a truck that I'm gonna put on. And some more metal on this side just to keep, again, these magnet hooks, just great for storage. There's my water cutoff wrench in case I need to run out to the street to do that. So, yeah. Then I ran these lights underneath here, which you can see they're a little bit smaller. I think these are the 4-inch, and up on the ceiling I have the 6 inches. Up here I got just some rags, my Bluetooth. This is my job site radio, TV. Sound on the TV doesn't work though. Gotta fix that. Here's my welding table that I built. I got the old Tombstone arc welder here, the AC/DC arc welder. I use that occasionally for different types of projects, but mostly I just use my 210 Power MIG. This welding table has these 2-inch receiving tubes that you can, if you wanted to mount accessories to it or something like that, you can just slide in there like another bench vise. Built these drawers, pretty heavy duty. They hold a bunch of different power cords. My metal saw. Up here is extra rods and MIG wire. And then of course I mounted these electric boxes, and one of the cords that's in that drawer right there plugs right into the bottom of this. You got four quads, a quad of outlets on the corner there. And the same thing over here on the other side. If you needed to plug in to be on this side. The top's 1/4-inch metal. Not quite done with this yet either. I want to put another shelf in here above this to give me a better place to store little scrap metal like that. And maybe do something here on this backside because that welder doesn't take up near as space in here. Maybe up here put a big shelf and just have a space for a lot of little scrap metal. Like this is actually my scrap metal pile that's going to the landfill. Or not the landfill, but the scrap yard, except for this anvil. Anvil doesn't go to the scrap yard. Brief tour of what my garage looks like and some of the inspiration behind the organization of it. Really, it's you know, when you have a smaller space, it's great to get, you know, vertical with things. And I like the tongue and groove. I like the metal, the combination of metal and tongue and groove. And then of course the toolboxes. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, it would be a huge help if you hit that like button, subscribe, hit that little bell icon if you want to be notified about future videos. Hit me in the comments below, let me know. Love to interact with you. All right, thank you so much for watching.